This principal is a pretty amazing guy. But I'm in just a bookstore, and I turn over, and here's the principal right next to me, standing there looking at the same books. And so we get talking, like his energy is just like overpowering. You know, like those static electricity balls, you know, they're called plasma balls or something. Put your hand on them, radiate. It's kind of static. I mean, he had this kind of energy coming off him. I could tell by the way he was running the camp that he was totally committed, totally focused, very passionate. The energy was almost a little scary. Kerouac, you know what I mean? It's just like, this guy's kind of pushing you to the edge here. So, in a flash in my head, I go, I'm hooking my wagon to this guy. I'm following, I don't know where it's going, but I'm following this path. And it was the beginning of one hell of a wild ride. And I want to talk a little bit about, I think, the role of mentors in this process, in this career. Here's the basic premise. Basically, people like to help people. If it's one thing I've learned through the years, the reward of extending yourself is much greater than the possibility of being rejected. So I can't emphasize that enough. And I think in seeking mentors, it's much better to think about your own growth. And I think mentors have gifts in areas you don't. You just learn by being with them, walking with them, talking with them, hanging out with them. But in a sense, I've talked about this before, you have to be willing to kind of be a second banana, or a little bit of like, you gotta let your ego go. So if your thing is to always feel like you've got to appear like you're absolutely on top of everything, you know, you're kind of, no, sometimes you have, I think, you have to kind of let go of that to let that process happen. A little vulnerability goes a long way. So, the lessons I've learned from my mentors. One, that quality matters. Quality in every endeavor. People that I kind of follow along and I modeled, it's like you're only as good as your last interaction. Good interactions are like money in the bank. And you know, it's like the other thing I call it the slip and slide rule. You can climb the ladder and do all these things right, and then you just screw up and you slide down the slide and you're kind of back where you started. So again, the concept of quality. Total commitment. Once you're in, you're fully in. Being knowledgeable. You know, there's just no way you can fake it. If you know it, if you know what you're doing, if you know the business or the teaching or the education or whatever it is, and you know it inside out, you need to have that full package. Or be able to connect with someone who can assist you in those areas that are weak. Or all mentors for me have encouraged me to be risky. They certainly didn't get there by not taking chances in this. So that's important. Always learning. Again, going back to the knowledgeable part, I say approaching things like the mind of a beginner. So you're seeing things, you're trying to see things with fresh eyes. And remember, sometimes when you're doing the changes, that's when you come in. I say it's a little bit like being an anthropologist, because you're kind of like, whoa, trying to make sense out of a new situation, and you don't have any, you know, this mindset parameters that are limiting your thinking and what you're seeing. And I think that mentors can be cheerleaders in times of transition, someone you can trust and confide in sometimes a cold world. And loyalty. I mean, it's a two-way street. When I'm talking the kind of stuff I'm talking about, you know, this is basic stuff, basic commitments. I'm there for you, you're there for me. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I just wrote the Day of the Century, and a couple times we were cycling along, and we're moving, we're doing pretty good. You look over your left shoulder, and here comes a line of guys, girls, whatever is mixed, co-ed, powering by, and they're going by, 6 miles an hour faster. So we're going at 18, they're going at 22, 23. And so we just kind of look at each other and kind of nod our heads and clip into the back of that train, and all of a sudden we're going 22 or 23. Now maybe we only went 10 miles or 15 miles with that, but it was kind of a rush. As you know, if you draft, the second person's only doing 74% of 100% of energy. The third person's only doing 64%. You could say, in a sense, like in our ride, we kind of get stuck in this thing. And all of a sudden, this could get us unstuck. Bam. Quite nicely. I mean, sometimes your friends have a vested interest in you staying the same. Let's say you're kind of in this thing where you're growing, going into new roles, wanting to do new things, da-da-da. Sometimes your friends kind of go, they're not real comfortable with that. They know who you are. They know who you are and who you were. They don't know who you're going to be. Bob Dylan went electric. This would have been way back in the mid-'60s. It changed music. It changed modern rock and roll. All his friends, all his folk singing friends, said, "What are you doing? You're selling out. You're a traitor. What is this?" And of course, the rest is musical history. Sometimes we can get really comfortable with a certain group, friends or co-workers, and we can kind of get stuck in their mindset with this drafting with mentors. What that allows you to do is to kind of grow in new areas, kind of develop your own more complete skill set. And ideally, I'm talking idealism now. Ideally, mentors are vested in who you can become, not who you are right now. So they see sometimes your potential, perhaps even more than you'd see yourself. I know that was true for me.